Hello, so this is the first of a couple of sessions on the theory and application of do now tasks. When I started teaching, which admittedly was a while ago, settlers were a big thing. Things that students did as soon as they arrived in the classroom. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, and absolutely nothing wrong with wanting your class to settle down, obviously. But what we need to consider is that our understanding of cognitive science and the role of retrieval in building long-term memory is a lot more developed than it was 26 years ago when I started training. And the role of do now tasks has to be very much part of our conversation around the curriculum. James Dewey in 1916 was talking about the idea that students construct their knowledge. As a historian, I've always felt history is a construct. We build it from the evidence that is left behind. Theoretically, everything is a construct, and this key idea here, new material, can only be assimilated into an already developed schema of knowledge. So the better our schema, the better developed our schema, the easier and more long-lasting our learning will be. So we've got to think all the time about how we are going to revise, retrieve and embed previous material in order to accommodate new material. We spent a ton of time thinking about our golden nuggets, getting them into our knowledge organisers. So do now is another tool in our arsenal to make sure that that information that we've identified as crucial is embedded into students' long-term memory. Harvard University did a ton of research on do now, and it's nothing that you don't already know. Here's a summary. It's obvious: purposeful start, brief, engaging, risk-free, all good stuff. Getting ready to embark on new content because we've embedded previous content. Make it a habit. We're doing that. We're doing it every lesson. So we're on the curve as far as Harvard's concerned. Probably the key one is the importance of linking the activity we're doing with material that students have previously learned. It's not a settler. It is an element of our retrieval practice, and we're going to need to plan it. And it links quite nicely to what Amanda Spielman said in the launch of the new Ofsted framework. And what Spielman was talking about is this idea of our job as educators is to build a deep body of knowledge. A deep body of knowledge that students can use to access later study. So there are three questions here that we probably want to consider now that we've raised the demon of Ofsted. How are our do now tasks going to form part of the curriculum conversations that we will ultimately have with Ofsted inspectors? I think these three questions are questions that we could all in our teams face from an Ofsted inspector, and we need to think about the idea of do now tasks forming part of our answer to these questions. Is your curriculum logically structured so that students remember more? That is how Ofsted are defining learning, that students can know more, remember more and do more with it. Thinking about the content you're teaching, why have you taught it in the order that you've taught it, and how is that going to link to your retrieval through your do now tasks? And where are you explicitly revisiting and building upon material that you have already taught? And these are the types of questions that every single one of us could face from an Ofsted team, so we need to consider what our answers to those questions will be. So final recommendation is we need to plan this. If we haven't planned our retrieval and how we're going to use do now as part of this, it's definitely something that we want to consider. I'm going to leave you with two questions to ponder, and they are: how do you do now tasks fit into your overall curriculum plan? How will your team evidence your intent? And Ofsted define intent as everything you do before you go into the classroom. How will your team evidence your intent vis-a-vis alteration in long-term memory? Can you prove to them that you have thought about this, that you have got an answer, that you've got a plan, and you've got strategies? Any questions? Come and have a chat from a safe distance, and I hope that made sense. Thank you. Bye.